Let me
I
tell you
hate
something right off the
you.
bat. Nothing in this
I
world will rattle your
absolutely
faith in the
hate
rules quite
all
like
of
watching
you.
a pack of suburban dictators roll up to your front gate waving
Get
a
off my
clipboard and a
land!
self-invented
I'm
sense of
warning you,
power.
if you take one
You
more
think
step,
I'm
I will
joking,
end
buddy?
this
I bought my
right
own peace of
now.
quiet. 20 years in the Navy, seen storms that could sink a battleship, survive desert dust hurricanes, and the worst bureaucracy this country can spit out. But not a damn thing prepared me for what hit 3 days after I moved into my so-called slice of paradise on the edge of Chattahoochee Falls. I figured when you win a county auction, get your deeds all neat and notarized and pour your last savings into a property the bank tried to forget, well, you earned your peace. I wanted nothing but trees, a roof that'd keep the rain off, and maybe a shot at a quiet morning coffee. Yeah, that was wishful thinking. Because here's the part. No one warned you about in America. You can outrun hurricanes, outwork back taxes, even outsmart the IRS if you're lucky, but you cannot for the life of you outrun a determined HOA president named Karen. Now I met my Karen on a sticky Georgia morning standing on my porch grilling a ribeye barefoot, just savoring the feeling of owning something real. That's when she came marching down my drive, clipboard held high like Moses with the tablets. No introduction, no smile, just straight into, "Sir, you're in violation of Willow Hills Extension HOA policies. Please let us in." I almost laughed, thinking she was lost. "This isn't your HOA," I told her. "Bought it from the county, checked every map, not a dime owed to anyone but the power company." But she just smiled, that tight little grin people get when they think their badge means more than the law. Our development plan extended 2 years ago. Your property is within our adjusted boundary. That means registration, a compliance meeting, and an $8,000 fee. She even told me I had to hand over my gate keys. My first real lesson. Some folks, they don't care about lines on a map or what the county clerk says. Power, once it gets in their head, turns people into wannabe warlords. And Karen, let's just say she took to the role like a duck to water. I could have gotten angry right there. But 20 years of service taught me to keep my temper on a short leash. So I just told her, "Calm as you please, lady. You set foot past this fence, you'll be trespassing." She blinked at me, clipboard trembling. Her sidekick, some poor guy in an orange vest, looked ready to bolt. But she stood her ground. "We'll see about that. You can't just squat here and pretend the rules don't apply." The next morning, my gate was wrapped in caution tape, orange barricades blocking the drive. Stapled dead center, illegally occupied structure pending HOA eviction. Took photos, logged it all, sent the evidence straight to the county, and for good measure emailed her and her board a cease and desist with my deed attached. No answer, just more stunts, flyers, trespass attempts, even a final notice of non-compliance shouted at my fence by a group in reflective vests. It got weirder. One morning I caught Karen parked just off my property binder, held overhead like a battle flag, shouting about community ordinances. I didn't argue, just pointed my camera her way and waited. She left in a huff, peeling out like she'd just been insulted by royalty. You might wonder, why didn't I just give in? Go to the meeting, pay their little tax? Let me tell you, it wasn't the money. It was the principle. I bought this land fair and square. I'd seen people like Karen before in uniform, and out folks who think rules bend to their will, who build kingdoms out of nothing but paperwork and fear. About a week in, things escalated for real. 3 SUVs, 2 sheriff, 1 HOA showed up together. Karen marched up, her face pinched tighter than a drum, waving her binder. The deputies asked for my paperwork, which I handed over, all in order, stamped and signed and double-checked. The younger deputy went looking for survey markers, found them right where I'd flagged them. Karen went pale. "The developer promised us," she protested. The deputy shook his head. "Promised isn't filed, ma'am." And that was that. Legally, I was clear. But you ever see someone lose power and just not accept it? Karen's rage, it wasn't just a personal thing, it was religious. She tore down one of my posted signs right in front of the deputies. That got her cuffed, detained for destruction of property and false reporting. Even then, she was screaming about owning this neighborhood. The deputy told her, "No, ma'am, you built a headache. You'd think that'd end it, right?" You don't know, Karen. 2 days later, a letter arrives. Heavy linen, fake legalese, now signed by her acting chairperson. Apparently, the board was trying to redraw boundaries, claiming historical agreements that didn't exist. My lawyer, Rachel, was all over it. She filed a motion, submitted plat maps, blocked them cold. Turns out Karen and her crew weren't just overreaching, they were forging documents, doctoring signatures, even using the name of a dead man for one of their petitions. That's when things turned dark. Flyers everywhere, mailbox stuffed with violation notices. Then my water line was tampered with, lockpick not broken. Had to reinforce the cameras, install more sensors, turn my property into Fort Knox. I started keeping a log time-stamped, cloud-synced. One night, 2 HOA patrol wannabes crept across my yard at 3 a.m., one with a crowbar. Caught the whole thing on camera, handed it to the sheriff. Turns out one was Karen's own son. They both got charged. Karen, meanwhile, started ghostwriting legal motions from her son's computer while under house arrest. You can't make this stuff up. The county finally stepped in, launched an investigation, suspended all HOA complaints, and froze any reclassification attempts. The board turned on Karen, voted her out unanimously. The sheriff picked her up again, this time for impersonating a public official, fraud, and obstruction. She screamed about militias as they loaded her in. By now, the neighborhood was coming apart at the seams. Residents started speaking up. Turns out Karen had been running her own little regime for years, threatening fines over sunflowers, bullying a disabled woman over a wheelchair ramp, forging permit denials. The hearings were ugly, public, and cathartic. Board members confessed to fake votes, cash for support envelopes, all of it. When the dust settled, the judge dissolved the HOA, entirely barred Karen and her son from any board for life, and slapped them with fines that'd sting for years. As for me, I put up a new sign at my gate: private land, not HOA property. Trespassers will be posted online. I started sharing my story, offering advice, legal templates, a hotline for anyone else under siege from HOA tyranny. First week, 50,000 views. Turns out I wasn't the only one. You want to know the real lesson? Power only works if you let it. Sometimes standing your ground means you stand alone. Sometimes you have to become your own last line of defense. But every now and then, when you do things by the book, keep your wits and refuse to bow to bullies. Justice lands right where it belongs. My property is quiet now. The only patrol is me and the squirrels. Karen. She's just a story folks swap over coffee, a warning to the next would-be tyrant. And every time someone new moves in and asks about the infamous HOA war, I just point to my sign, crack a smile, and say, not here, not anymore. So tell me, where do you draw the line? What would you have done? Have you ever stood up to a little king or queen with a clipboard? Drop your story below, because I know I'm not the only one. And if you ever find yourself face to face with a fake rulebook, remember sometimes freedom starts with a simple word: no.